Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the male perspective. The podcast that's all about dispelling stereotypes and shining a light on the rich and varied experiences of Black men from all around the world. Each episode aims to broaden understanding and foster appreciation for their unique stories that often go unheard. Now, here is your host, Lana Reid, to introduce you to yet another remarkable Black man with an insightful perspective to share.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today, on this day, I get to sit down with a gentleman by the name of Gerald GEO Gibson. He is the executive director and founder of Operation Making a Change out in Lexington, Kentucky, doing some impactful, empowering work with our young folks. And I am looking forward to spending some time with him today, learning more about his work. But first and foremost, as I always do, sir, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we can't get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time to talk to little old me. And with that, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate that. So it's a
Oh,
beautiful day. Uh, Today's my grandmother's birthday, so I purposely chose this date when you sent it to me.
oh, okay. Is
So,
she with us or?
she's not, but she's with me in the spirit though.
That's
So
all right.
today, I miss her dearly. But today, when I saw the dates that you had available, I said this was the date that I was
Oh,
going to choose.
well, thank you for sharing time with Grandma. I'm pretty sure she's looking down on you with a big smile on her face.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Well, let me get into it because I got a lot of stuff I want to ask you, and I don't want to take up all your day. As I mentioned, you are in Lexington, Kentucky,
Yeah.
but your life journey did not start off there. You started off in a bigger metropolitan city. So I want to know, how does a man go from the big city down to putting down roots in Kentucky and doing community work down there? How does that journey happen?
Yeah. Well, it's definitely been a journey. And my journey started in the Illinois area. I grew up in a small town, metropolitan area called Waukegan, Illinois. That's north of Chicago. So on the map, it probably
Chicago.
says about 50 minutes from the city. Um, but, in those type of cities, everyone's driving like 80 miles per hour. So I can probably get to Chicago in 30 minutes or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So, but I grew up in Waukegan, Illinois. I come from a home where I shared with my two brothers and two sisters. Um, my mom and dad were divorced when I was three, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that is what always comes to mind around 3 years old. Um, but I don't really have too many memories with my father growing up in the home. So my mom did get into a new relationship, maybe a short time after, and I remember a lot about that relationship though because things started to shift in my life. Moving in to another location, we moved around a lot in Waukegan, Illinois, and I grew up on the south side of Waukegan. And what I remember the most of growing up in the home with my stepfather and my mom had three other kids with him, so that made five. Me and my oldest brother, we have the same father.
Okay.
And so, the things that I remember, stepfather was very stern. Um, Mama was the sweetest thing on earth. So she's just an angel sent
Mm-hmm.
to this earth, I believe. Will give you the
Mm-hmm.
shirt off her back. And so I never really knew how my mom and my stepfather met. I never really asked her that. Well, how did y'all actually meet? Because I guess they say opposites do attract.
True.
And so my mom was she never really worked a job. We were on food stamps, welfare. We got that. I come from that government cheese era,
The
so
big
I'm a step.
blocks, right?
Yeah, and the cheese and the butter, the powdered milk, you name it. We stood in line to get that wick bag, and it was a struggle for us
Mm.
growing up, and we tried to make things work as much as possible. But unfortunately, within our household, there was not real stability. There was a lot going on. Stepfather had a lot of issues within him that
Mm.
I didn't really understand as a kid at the time. There was a lot of drug use, a lot of alcohol use. Um, but one thing I know for sure, what was fun was watching him and his brothers play in our living room. They had a band,
Okay.
and they would sing. They would play the bass, the guitar, the drums, and those was really really fun moments. The
Mm-hmm.
barbecues in the backyard, watching my mama sing. And so that actually spread it to me because that's why I think I have the love of music.
Yeah.
Plus my uncles, they were producers into music when I was younger. And so one thing though that was disturbing is that our living conditions. And so, you know, there was a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting. Um, we would call that abuse today. My mom, she went through it,
Mm-hmm.
growing up in a household with the stepfather. Um, so school was like an escape for me every single day. I was going to get that meal for sure.
Yeah.
I was going to be able to play outside,
Mm-hmm.
and act like a normal kid. Not saying that I didn't do that at home. It was fun with the neighborhood kids, moving around from neighborhood to neighborhood, making new friends. But it was just something about going to school just for that moment to escape. But then I was worried when I was at school a lot because I didn't know what was going on at home. You know, I've seen my mama, just go through it with the
Yeah.
stepfather in the worst way.
Yeah.
She and I would always wonder, like, is she okay? Is she okay? I didn't know sometimes when that bell rung and it was time for dismissal. I'm like, I hope I don't go home and find my mother deceased.
Mm.
That's how scary this was.
That's
You know,
stress.
um, as a little boy, it was like I had to learn how to be a man at a little boy's age.
Yeah.
So for me to even say I was scared sounds kind of strange even right now. And I'm a grown man. I'm
Yeah.
54 years old now.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I was terrified on the way home because going to that door, I didn't know what mood the stepfather was in. I'm like, is
Yeah.
he cool today? Is he all right? You know what I'm saying? Like, is mama okay? Did he hit her?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and like I said, I believe in my heart that before she met him, he had a lot of things going on. And one of the biggest things was the drug use. Like I said, I had a front row seat to watch the drug use
Mm-hmm.
every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was with family members or just him. And so, he disciplined us pretty tough. Back in the day, we had to go outside and get our own switches, and
I remember
you know,
that.
we it was just uh, very very challenging growing up, sharing a room with two brothers. Me and my
Mm-hmm.
youngest brother, my oldest brother, we shared a room, and I didn't thrive in school either. So even though I mentioned going to school, I didn't thrive in school. I didn't think I was as good as the other students. And then I was always I didn't have had low self esteem the way I dressed, my hair.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day we called it nappy hair. I had that
Mm-hmm.
nappy braided hair. My clothes came from thrift stores and stuff like that. Um, and so I always got picked on a lot from kids. It's like I was a magnet. Me and my brother,
Mm-hmm.
we were magnets for kids picking on us, and it was
Mm-hmm.
because we were less fortunate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to fight a lot. I had to fight a lot because that's actually bullying. So I had to fight a lot. I didn't win every fight, but I had to fight. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stand up for yourself. And if you didn't, you went home. The stepfather made you go back outside and fight. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so I remember those days. But again, the fun moments were the music, the backyard barbecues, um, and my grandmother. She was always the light of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother's grandmother, on his father's side.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother, her name is Jean. She was one of the most amazing ladies that I ever met. Today is her birthday. May she rest in peace. And going to her home is where structure was.
Okay.
We sat at the table, we ate together, but at home, we didn't do any of that. It was more so, here, get your plate and go find somewhere to sit down on the
Oh,
floor or
wow.
in the room. So I didn't grow up with a whole lot of value that a lot of other households probably taught, the basics.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
but my grandmother was always a light. She was that hope.
Mhm.
Every time I went to her home, she was married. She had kids, and she just had good structure and just she would always just no matter what we were going through, she would try to help us.
Mhm.
One thing I know for sure, she was trying to help us get away from that situation that happened that was going on in the household with the stepfather. She was trying to do that for years, but I didn't understand why my mom stayed at the time. Like, for her to be treated the way she was, I
Mhm.
didn't understand. Like, well, why are we staying with somebody that wants to hurt you?
Mhm.
And now I understand, being the man that I am today, that my mom she was a victim. She was terrified. She,
Mhm.
I'm not doubting that maybe when she first met, you know, my stepfather, she was in love. I'm not doubting that at all. At
Mhm.
some point, it just was beyond that.
Mhm.
So going outside every day, it was like the neighborhoods wasn't the best. There were gangs in the neighborhoods, in different neighborhoods and stuff like that. I grew up with different races, of course.
Mhm.
You had blacks, you had African, you had Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Caucasian people. So I grew up with a mixture of people, and we
Okay.
were bused to the schools way out. But uh, outside is where I've seen a lot of drug use as well, and so
Mm.
seeing it outside, it was like normal now because I'm watching it being
In
done
the
on the internet.
home.
Yeah. So I can remember stealing from a store because we used to have to go get credit from a store during the times we didn't have those food stamps or
Mhm.
that check from the government. And we would go up to the store. It was actually Mike's store to be precise. And mom would get credit like packs of cigarettes, bologna, cheese, bread, whatever we needed to have to last us for that moment until we got the food stamps. And I remember stealing out that store. It was a piece of Bazooka Joe. And I know a lot of people may say, okay, what that got to do with your testimony? It's because when I first walked in that store, I was going up and down that aisle as a kid. I'm smelling all this candy, but I can't even hardly have none because we ends are tight right now in the
Money funny.
household.
Money funny.
Money was money. And so I looked at a piece of Bazooka Joe. I looked to the left and looked to the right, and I picked it up and opened it and put it in my mouth. And actually, Mike actually stopped me before I walked out the store, and he caught me.
Mm.
Now, I stamped that as my first step,
Okay.
and I didn't know that that little small piece of gum was going to send me down a path of
Mm.
self-destruction, criminal thinking, all of that.
Mm.
It was all building up. And when we couldn't get like candy and stuff like that, because stepfather controlled all the money and stuff like that, I used to crawl in my mom's room while they were sleeping, go in his pants pocket just to get a dollar, four
Oh.
quarters, some dimes, because back then candy was really cheap. It was
Nickel
10
candy.
cents for a
Yep.
penny. Yeah. And so, when you got a bag of now laters and lemon heads and stuff like that, baked beans going to the bus stop, you got something. And I was tired of watching all the other kids, enjoy that. And but yeah, and not only that, between the ages of I would say between 8 and 10, maybe 7 and 10 was my first experiment with drugs. I remember going to the ashtray, grabbing a rope, and not the ones that we had the ones that crawled on the wall too, but I'm talking about the ones that laid in the ashtray.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember me and my oldest brother, James. I had lit that on the stove, and we ran in the bathroom, and I saw it being done, and that's exactly what I was doing. And next
Wow.
thing you know, I remember it affected me because we tried to cook some waffles on the stove and almost burnt the house down. Now I stamped that as I didn't know that one hit was going to send me down a path of addiction.
Mm, mm,
So fast forward, um, we hung around with a lot of kids that had similar backgrounds as us. Birds of a feather flock together.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and my brothers and I, we were real tight when we were little. We really looked out for each other when we were younger. We played together. Um, we protected each other. We loved sports. We stayed involved in sports because sports kept us out of trouble. So a lot of the young uh, friends in the neighborhood, we were all getting together and we were all using drugs too, though.
mhm,
Drugs and alcohol, and then we start staying out past curfew and hanging out with the older crowd and
mhm.
hanging with gang members and stuff like that. And so, to me, like I said, it was just basically just trying to survive every single day because I couldn't control the environment. Now, no, anybody could say, well, it was a choice that you went down that path. You're right, it was a choice, but I didn't really have too many options,
True.
you know. And so again, school wasn't good for me. I failed the fifth grade. Um, I hid in the back of the classroom because I never wanted the teacher to call on me. But I remember this lady pulling up. By the time I was 11 years old, 12, I was out there. I was running with guys that were breaking in homes and robbing people and stuff like that. So now I'm involved with that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was because I wanted to fit in. Of course, you
Mhm,
want to fit in with your environment. You don't want to be left out. So I
mhm,
wanted to fit in. Of course, I wanted some money. I wanted some food. I wanted to go play arcade games. I wanted to do all of that. And to me, that
mhm,
just was the way to do it.
mhm,
I wasn't proud of any of that. I'm not proud of that now that I had to result into, criminal activity at such a young age. And the school used to try to talk to me like they knew something was wrong at home.
okay.
They knew like they can tell by the how way I dress
Okay.
and they can tell that I'm just not growing. I'm not thriving in
Yeah.
education. And they used to ask me questions like, what's going on at home? And I would tell them nothing. I would lie to them because
Mhm,
I was taught to lie.
mhm.
It was a learned behavior. Listen, when you go to school, you can't talk about
What
what
goes on in
happened
this
in your
house
mom.
stays in this house.
Yeah. And so I was always afraid of being taken away from my
Mm,
siblings and being separated. So I
mm,
never really said anything about that. I mean, I
mhm.
remember they used to do home checks. A man couldn't even be living with us at the time in order to get food stamps and receive
Wow.
government checks back then. So
Oh.
I remember we used to have to hide the stepfather's clothes. He used to have to leave, hide in closets. It was just crazy. Um, Fast forward again, like I said, I was standing out in front of my residence one day, and this caravan pulls up, and it was a Caucasian lady, white lady. Her name was Holly, and she asked for me, and I'm standing. She's talking about, well, what do you want with Gerald? And she got out of her van and walked over to me, and she said, "Listen, I know you don't know me, but the school gave me your information, and I just wanted to come check on you. I just want to come help you some type of way." And I
Oh.
found that kind of odd because, like, who wants to help me? I'm a troublemaker,
Mm,
right? I mean, a lot of people say I was a good kid, though. They said, well, Gio, you was an all right kid, though, man. You wasn't as bad as, the things you were doing.
mhm,
She saw something in me. And so within that few minutes of her talking with me, standing there, she earned my trust. And what she offered was she was like, well, I want to come pick you up maybe once or twice a week.
mhm,
We can go play basketball. I
mm,
love basketball.
mhm.
We can eat some food. You checking the boxes. He said, but we will be at a church, so we have to study the Bible. Now, that was real easy too because my grandmother took us to church every
Mhm.
Sunday.
Okay. Okay.
Every Sunday was Sunday school and church.
There you
We
go.
was there all day, 8 in the morning, about 3 o'clock. Man, I was like, man, how much church?
That's black folks church right there.
Yeah, and they give us a little break to run down the street to the candy store. Here, he go a quarter. Y'all run on down there, but come on
Mhm.
right back. Yeah, so we had to go to church and whatever grandma say, go.
Yeah.
Wasn't no talking back, wasn't no. Nah, I don't feel like going today. No, grandma, when she pull up, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Holly, I said, well, Holly, if you're going to pick me up, you got to take my little brother too. Yeah, my
Yeah.
little brother. And then the rest of my guys that I was, on the
Yeah.
in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so she did that. She would pull up in her caravan, load that van up. We would go out to this church. We would shoot basketball, eat food, study the Bible scripture. I remember my first favorite scripture was John 3:16. That was my first one. Uh, Holly, she was consistent with
That's
picking
what
us
you
up.
needed. Yeah.
She was consistent, yes. So again, I had my grandmother, um, I had Holly, and there were working men in the neighborhood. Don't get me wrong, there was men that I looked up to, but I didn't want to be like them because they
Mm-hmm.
worked. They were like they dressed different. They was the we called them squares. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, those are the square dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And but looking
L7.
back now, yeah, but looking back now, they was the real ones.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, of course, we had guys that would take us out to camps and stuff like that and try to talk to us, but it wasn't really getting through to us. But I
Yeah.
look at it now, it was all seed planting. And so
Yes.
I remember Holly picked me up one day. She said, I'm gonna teach you how to drive." And I'm in this caravan. It's a stick shift, and I'm switching
Messing up
gears.
that clutch.
She said, "Yeah," and she's like, "Don't worry about it. You can do it." Next thing you know, I'm driving. So my
Okay.
first vehicle of driving was a stick shift.
There you go.
So I had to learn how to switch gears at a
Mm-hmm.
young age. I didn't know that that tool was going to come in handy for me in life later
There
on.
you go.
Yes. And so I remember Holly picking us up one day. I mean, she used to take us camping, mountain climbing, rappelling, swimming. I mean, you name it.
Mm-hmm.
She did it. We're going to her home and cooking meals and stuff like that. We're all cooking. Um, and so Holly picked us all up one day. Now it was about 15 kids, maybe it was a whole bunch of kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sitting in her living room. We're making Kool-Aid. We got salad and pasta. Yeah. I remember stirring that Kool-Aid because we used to put half a bag of sugar in there back in the day. Diabetes, man.
It was good though.
Yeah. So Holly says, I got some news to share with y'all. We like, okay. She's like, well, I'm getting married. And we applaud that. Okay, huh? She
Mm-hmm.
said, but we're moving away. Now,
Oh.
me and all the kids in the living room, we sitting around, we looking at each other like the smile turns to frowns and hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's like tears. And we wanted to beat the dude up. Whoever I didn't even really know him, but I wanted to. So for a long time, I held a grudge towards him.
Mm-hmm.
Years.
Mm.
I I recently, maybe 4 years ago, asked him to forgive me. And I said
Mm.
I had to forgive him. And like for what? I said because you took Holly away from me.
My
You didn't know.
consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when Holly left, of course, nothing got better, but she met us where we were. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, okay, I know these young people, they got some things going on, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
still gonna work with them. I'm still gonna poke some hope in them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you never know who God's gonna send you.
That's
It's
right.
it's gonna be. I mean, your blessings can be right in front of you, but we judge it for whatever color it is,
That's
whatever
right.
shape it is, with whatever car is driving or
That's
whatever.
right.
And I didn't know that Holly was a true blessing to me until when she left also.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember making it to high school as a freshman, and I decided that I wanted to do something with my life for the first time.
Okay.
Because any other time was just survival every day. Want to
Mm-hmm.
survive. And I saw this commercial that says, "Be all that you can be, find the future in the army," right? And they was jumping out of helicopters and all that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to the military.
Mm.
I'm getting up out of here. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I went to school, I signed up for the ROTC program.
Okay.
Now that was probably the most, other than a sports team, the most positive thing that I've ever been a part of. They gave me a uniform. I took pride in that thing. Like I shined that brass, and I mean it was fun. And the sergeant told me, he said, if you graduate high school and complete this, you go into the military. as a E1,
There
E2, and
you
all
go.
something. Yeah. Now I know to some people they don't agree with the military, but I had nothing else to follow back then when I was
Mm-hmm.
a kid. I mean, that was something promising. At least I
Yeah.
can,
It's a
learn
career
something
path.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nowadays, when you're choosing a career path, everyone is critical about the path that you choose
Mm.
for some reason, right? And so that was short lived, of course. My I'm at school and I'm months into the program, and my grandmother calls the school. I was going to Waukegan West High at the time in Waukegan, Illinois, and she called. I came down to the office and got on the phone with her. She said, "I need you to come home." I'm like, "What's going on?" She said, "I just need you to come home right now." Now, when I hung that phone up, my heart is racing,
Yeah.
and we lived a couple miles away. I ran all the way home. Um, my first thought was something happened to my mother,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and that's the only thing that I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get there, I see this truck outside. My grandmother is standing outside. She has her hand in her purse and she brandishes a gun. It was a nickel plated 32 or something.
Go, grandma.
Yeah, grandma was like, "I'm getting y'all out of here today because the abuse stops today."
Uh-huh.
I'll never forget this. And she said, "Go upstairs and get everything that you can and come on down
Mm-hmm.
and put it in there." Now, the stepfather was out doing an odd job because he was a painter also. He did painting
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So he was out and about, so we had time to maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "But where we going?" They said, "Just come on." So we ended up in a shelter for battered women for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was hoping we was gonna stay in that place. It was the cleanest place I ever lived in. I mean, it was the sheets were amazing, full of the cabins were full of food. I mean, it was just different. I'm like, wow,
Different. Yeah.
yeah, nice and fresh. And so my mom ended up moving us further north, which is Wisconsin. Right there.
Okay.
I was 15 at the time,
Okay.
so now I'm moving to Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I'm like, well, Winston, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a culture shock for me because when I got to Kenosha, Kenosha had everything that I was getting into like I was in Waukegan, Illinois. It really wasn't no different.
Mm.
Yes,
Just a different city.
yes. Now the ROTC program was out the window because I was a freshman, a high school freshman in ninth grade, but for some reason their grade level was different, and I found myself back in middle school, junior high school. I mean, and I'm like, this is crazy. I'm back with the little kids. So now I went back to the same mindset that I had in Illinois as a hustler. So I knew how to sell drugs. I knew how to go into a school and work that hallway. I knew all of that. I knew how to find what I was looking for because I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the ROTC program. And
Mm-hmm.
I immediately, when I got there, got right with people that was from Chicago, Detroit, Kenosha, Racine, Milwaukee. I mean,
Mm.
you had people from all over right there, right?
Mm.
Because a lot of people question Wisconsin, like, is it? Well, Wisconsin is about that life.
Migrate. People migrating there from. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and a lot of people from Illinois and the Michigan area migrated there from years ago because of the welfare program is
Ah.
different. Like say if you had 10 kids in the household, your food stamp is gonna be crazy big. Your welfare check is gonna be crazy. So a lot of
Hmm.
people, I didn't know that until I got there and learned that years ago,
Okay.
right? Now I'm pretty sure they're not doing that now. So
Mm.
whoever watches this or listens to it, think I done gave up
Don't move. Right.
the force. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I ain't gave up no force. I'm just going by what I knew what was there during that time.
Yeah.
Uh, so my mom, it was the first time in a long time that I saw my mom at peace. My mom used to love to just listen to music every day. I mean,
Mm.
records, 45s, LPs, and I just
Mm.
used to love listening to the music with her. But unfortunately, she developed a cigarette habit during the years we was living with the stepfather because she was
Mm-hmm.
so nervous. It calmed her nerves, and
Mm.
she drank a
Gotcha.
Pepsi every day with it. I mean, she
Gotcha.
was a chain smoker, Pepsi drinker. Like mom, It was just a odd habit that she accumulated
To
over the
get
years,
through it.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got a chance. I used to sit back and just watch her, and just knowing that no one's yelling at her, no one's
Mm.
screaming at her, no one's controlling her, but I can still see the trauma that she went through. I could still, my mom she just wasn't all the way there as far as like spirit wise. Like she
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really outgoing because of so many years of just being controlled.
Yeah. That
Um,
PTSD. Yeah.
yeah. And so I finally had my own room. That was another positive. I had my own room finally. Because my older brother, he didn't come. It's
What
me
do
and
you?
my younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah, and my sister. So my older brother stayed behind because he was knee deep in the streets. And
Oh, okay.
I was actually following my oldest brother to the
Okay.
street. Yeah, so he was heavily involved with the
Okay.
gang life, and very, out there on crime and stuff like that. So,
Okay.
um, I mean, he's been shot at a young age. He's been to juvie, prison and stuff like that at a young age. He's been through it, and like I said, I was following him in the street.
Okay.
Well, he
Okay.
used to always try to run me home, but I'm like, it's okay. I'm gonna
I would
form
be
my
like
own
you.
little
Yeah.
circle then. I'm gonna form my own circle then and stuff. But Kenosha, uh, again, once I moved to Kenosha, I immediately got on the law enforcement's radar. Because Illinois, I mean, I think Wisconsin, you know, they really monitor when you come across that state line. And being, a lot of people from Chicago and Detroit would come in. There was a lot of drugs there and whatnot. And not saying that those states were responsible for what was happening, but being from out of state,
Okay.
they always took a look at that, like,
Okay.
hmm. And so, plus my affiliation, who I was hanging with.
Okay.
Uh, I did get involved back with the drugs. I was using drugs and selling drugs, um, and I ended up becoming a full fledged gang member,
Mm.
running with the streets every single day. And I remember meeting this young lady from Detroit, Michigan. Now I usually say we dated, but to me we wasn't dating. To me, a date is me saying, "Here's some flowers, here's some candy, ringing your doorbell, asking the father, can I take you on a date?" It wasn't none of that.
Mm.
We had a lot in common as far as like home structure, street
Mm-hmm.
life, you know what I'm saying? So
Karma bonds.
yeah. And so we started seeing each other on a regular. Um, I tried to work a job, of course. School, I still wasn't thriving, but I was still going. I was still in
Okay.
attendance. By that time, my mom had moved and got a house. So now we're living in a house for
Okay.
the first time, first house ever. Now we didn't own the house, we rented it, but it felt like it was ours.
It was ours. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, me and this young lady, we both used drugs. She introduced me to her family. I fit right in with her family. Um, I remember she left to Detroit, and she called me from Detroit. Her uncle, may he rest in peace. Um, she went to a funeral to pay her respects to her uncle, and she called me on the phone and said, my grandmother's having a dream about fishes.
Uh-oh.
Now I don't believe in all that. I'm like, what? Okay, what that mean? She
Uh-oh.
said, well, next week I'm pregnant. I said,
How old were
okay.
you, sir?
I was 17. I was 17 at the time. So I said, well, when you come back, we'll check into all that. So when she came back, we went to the doctor, and of course, she was pregnant. Uh, Crazy thing about that is when I was 11, my next door neighbor, he was a Hispanic guy. He was like a Puerto Rican. No, he wasn't Puerto Rican. His wife was Mexican. He treated me like a son. And so he worked on cars. He was trying to teach me stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we were using drugs together, he's a grown man. I knew where to go get all the drugs at.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but he was still like a dad to me, another
Mm-hmm.
dad to me
Mm-hmm.
in the streets. And so he introduced me to weightlifting. He bought my own weight mix, and I didn't know what I was doing. And at a young age, I ended up straining myself, and I had to go do a procedure because of a hernia.
Okay.
And during that time, the doctor told me I couldn't have children.
Guess
He
he was
said, "You will."
wrong.
Now I was remember I'm 11, 12 years old, and the doctor's telling me you can never have children. I cried. I remember my grandmama hold me, my mama was next to me, and they put me to sleep. Woke up. Okay, I never thought about that ever again until
She
I
came
met.
along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I never told her that. And I said, you know what? Because I loved her, and I
Mm-hmm.
said I'm not going to tell her this because I don't want to run her off. I want her
Mm-hmm.
to, be tripping. And so I said, well, since she's pregnant and I'm going to hang in there with her, the baby's when I did the math, I said, well, that's October. The baby will be born on my birthday because I'm an October baby, October
Mm-hmm.
30th to be exact. And I said through the whole pregnancy, the whole 9 months, and everybody was like, yeah, okay. She was like, yeah, right. Well, I remember this clear. October 30th, 1989, I was on my way to Chicago, up to no good, of course. And she had went in labor. And I get a call on the phone. Somebody wished me, her cousin Dana wished me happy birthday. May she rest in peace. He said, hey, congratulations. Your daughter was just born on my birthday, on
Hey,
my
happy
18th birthday.
birthday.
Yeah. So on my 18th birthday, I became a teenage father. Now, did I know how to be a father? So police was chasing me. I'm in and out of jail. I'm using drugs heavily. And then, there's an addiction there too because I'm using drugs every day. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't look at it as a problem though until it
Mm-hmm.
starts hitting me hard down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, I went to see my baby. Of course, you know what I'm thinking. Is she mine? Right?
Let me look at that face. Let me see.
And this baby didn't look nothing like me, right? Because baby, she was so light skinned, like real. I'm dark, like. But if you saw her now, if I showed you a picture of her, that's my baby.
That's yours, right?
Yeah. And then, short time later, I had a son back to back. Son, I was there for that one. I saw
Mm-hmm.
my son come out, saw my whole face. I was like, oh
Mm,
wow, he got
that's
my whole
me.
face. Yeah. And then my third kid, before she was born, me and her mother broke up.
Mm.
The reason why I'm explaining that is because it's a cycle that is happening here. Just
Mm-hmm.
like back in Illinois, and we see in a lot of other homes. You know what I'm saying? Like I was about, I'm fathering kids, but I'm absent, right? And I may have been present a lot, but when I say absent, I mean if I'm high, I'm kind of absent. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm locked up, I'm absent. I'm having kids, and I'm not really being there as a true father. And truth be told, I was never shown how to be a real father anyway, because you got to remember the house that I grew up in.
True, true.
There was a lot of arguing,
Mm.
yelling, drug use, and I created the same type of household with me and my kids' mom. You know what I'm saying? We
Mm-hmm.
got along, but there was times that we didn't get along. We didn't we didn't settle our difference like, okay, let's work this out type stuff. Let's everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was just my mind was all over the place, and I know drugs in the streets had me all discombobulated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so when we broke up, it was hurtful, very hurtful. Um, I ended up I didn't have no money, I didn't have nothing, but I ended up going to Chicago, and I'm with my people in Chicago, and they telling me like we're going to Kentucky. I'm like, what are we going to Kentucky for? It was 1993, and I'm like, what are we going to Kentucky for?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, we got drug operations set up.
In Kentucky.
We making money. I'm like, okay, grass. Mm, is there? I just couldn't picture this.
Kentucky, right?
Yes. And so we jumped on the highway, go to Kentucky. And when I got here, just like moving to Kenosha, I
Mm-hmm.
was like, wow. I was in Lexington,
Mm-hmm.
Kentucky, and I was living in the Charlotte Court projects here. It's called West End here, and Kentucky's about that life also, and I think there's issues any and everywhere you go in
Mm-hmm.
the world. So I'm not like just trying to single out, but Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky is my big three right now as far as mistakes that impacted my life. So I was here selling, doing the same stuff I was doing home, making fast money, going to the club, getting in trouble, going to jail, getting high. And you know what I realized after a period of time of being here? I wasn't here too long, but I was here long enough to realize that I was dying here too, just like I was dying back home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back home, and I remember this police officer pulling up on me in the neighborhood, and he asked me, "You ever thought about changing your life?" Like, I
Mm-hmm.
waved him off. That's just how it was. I heard what he said. It touched me, but I didn't want him to know he touched me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Like, you the cop. I'm the bad guy. You still trying to get me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, "It's just something different about you, Gio." I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what. If you don't get off this corner of this neighborhood, by the end of the year, you're gonna be in prison." And I looked at him like, "You gotta be kidding me." He said, "You want to make a wager on it?" We bet $200 and shook hands like men. He drove off. I could still see him driving off. He drove off in a blue four-door Chevy Caprice. And those that's gonna watch this from my people, they know exactly who I'm talking about. And I walked off. Well, I remember getting a beep on my beeper, 911. Made the call. They was like, they just did a sweep in the neighborhood, right? So they arrested everybody in the neighborhood, but they was looking for one more person.
Oh
I
no.
already knew. I didn't even want. I didn't even stick around to find out who that was because I already knew it was me. Because I was always in the middle of everything.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm saying? I wasn't the biggest drug dealer. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't the biggest gangster. I wasn't the biggest. I wasn't the leader of everything. You know what I'm saying? But I was in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
everything that was
Mm-hmm.
happening. So
Mm-hmm.
I knew my name was in there. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, I went on the run. Couldn't run far. You know, most people run to Illinois, to Georgia, and then back to the scene of the crime. And that's exactly what I did. Suburbs outside of Chicago, laid my head down, but my mama kept me going back, and my kids. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
I was arrested in Kenosha, Wisconsin, back in 1990, at the end of '94. I was going into '95. I was convicted of selling narcotics, crack cocaine, and 3 counts of delivery. And in Wisconsin, they don't play about that. They do not
Mm-hmm.
play. Um, OJ was just found not guilty during that time.
Oh, they was hot.
Oh yeah, there was a lot going on during that time that I remember, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people was going to prison,
Mm-hmm.
getting big time for selling crack. Because back then, you can have powder, you get a slap on the wrist, but with crack, almost like a murder charge or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And they put enhancements on each of my charges, so that exposed me to about 30 something years. Basically, yeah. Now I didn't know the law back then, and of course you can face life in prison, but that doesn't mean you're gonna get life in prison.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so it was my first felony ever, and I didn't have no money for no lawyer. I didn't have money on my books. I couldn't get a bond. It was just crazy, right?
Mm.
But I remember what Holly and my grandmama used to tell me, Ray, I felt like I was using God's name in vain.
Mm.
But but I think that even if you use God's name in vain, you still calling on him,
That's right.
right?
That's
I'm gonna
right.
try to put it in a little perspective here.
Yeah.
But most of the time when I was high, God take it away. I promise I won't do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'm driving. God, I'm dirty. I got all these drugs in
Mm-hmm.
my car. Please don't let them pull me over. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I would just ask God to get me out of that. So um, going in and out of court, of course. Later on, they dropped 2 charges. I pleaded
Awesome.
to one that exposed me to 10 years.
Awesome.
I was on a case by myself,
Okay.
and I took a plea bargain for 10 years. And out of the 10 years, they sent me to prison for 4 years.
Okay.
So I went to prison, and the reason why I copped out is because there was an officer that was a part of the case that was going to take the stand and say they saw a hand-in-hand transaction. I'm sorry, But I know not to be true. But at the same time, I wanted to get it over with because when you're sitting in the
Yeah.
county jail, you
Yeah.
just sitting there, feel like time is just dead. And
Yeah.
they said I ain't never been to prison, but they said you go to prison, time goes faster. So I'm like,
Mm.
sure, I
Let
want to
me
go
get
shoot
this.
the
Yeah.
ball,
Let me
lift
get
some
this
weight,
through. Yeah.
watch some TV when I want. Let me go and get this plea out because that's all the state want is a conviction. It don't
Yeah.
matter if you get a year on the date; they just want a conviction.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to prison. But in that courtroom, my kids were in the courtroom, and I realized how much I was hurting them as they were screaming as I was going back into the bullpen. And then a couple weeks later, of course, they sent me to prison. Um, I was classified as a medium minimum um, risk
Okay.
security. That's what they do. They evaluate you. They run all type of tests on you when you first go to prison. And I was eligible for a boot camp program. So I went to boot camp. I don't know if you ever seen that movie First Time Felon with Omar Epps.
No. Uh-uh.
You
I ain't
gotta
seen it.
check that out. Yeah,
Okay.
if you watch that, that was me. That was me right there. That's my life right there. Like with that First Time Felon movie with Omar Epps. And so I go to boot camp. I make it through. Taught me a lot. Boot camp really was a can opener for me
Mm-hmm.
because I had so much stuff down inside, so much
Mm.
trauma, so much rage, so many tears, so much anger, so much hurt, so much pain, regret, scars. You name it. It was just I was a walking time bomb.
Mm.
And so when I got there, I've never cried so much. They really showed me who I really was. Like this is
Mm.
you, and I'm
Mm.
like that is not me, but it was. After graduating that program at the top of the class, I ended up going back home on
Okay.
parole, and I moved to Racine, Wisconsin. Now, Racine, Wisconsin is like 15 minutes or less from Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff is in one straight shot. I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
got Illinois, you got Wisconsin, you got where I grew up at Waukegan. Well, we can
Mm-hmm.
start in Chicago. You got well, actually Indiana, Chicago, Waukegan, Zion, North Chicago. You
Okay.
just keep all going. Everything is going just like that.
Okay.
But I'm in Racine, and the guys that I ran with in the streets are in Racine too, on the next block. So of course I got to keep it real. I got to go over there and show some love to my guys, let them know that I'm still GEO, I'm still that dude, but I'm on parole.
Mm.
Now I'm healthy, I'm clean, I'm like drug free. I look like a totally different dude at the
Mm-hmm.
time, and so I kept going back. And what I was doing, not knowing, was setting myself up for failure.
True.
But
True.
that was just the love that I had. But regardless on who I was running with, these guys were my brothers and sisters. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
we were like brothers. We fought like brothers. We struggled like brothers and sisters. I mean,
In
we
the
we
trenches
went through it.
together.
Yeah. So everything that I became now is was a part of that. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I had to go through that. And so I remember one day going back to the neighborhood. One of my buddies, his name was Super Dave. May he rest in peace. This was my guy. He was from Chicago. He says, "Man, since you went to prison and came home, seemed like you got soft." Now, no man wants to hear that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, he said, "Yeah." He almost was like calling me the B word, like, "Hey, you acting like a little,"
Yeah.
you know what I'm
Yeah. Uh-huh.
saying? So that triggered me,
Mm.
and it made me put on a cape again.
Mm-hmm.
And I went right back to the same stuff that landed me in prison the first time.
Mm.
Remember, I was on parole, and parole officers, I was on high risk parole, so they would come up by my apartment, knocking on the door, opening the door, searching my residence. I had to drop right on the spot, all that type of stuff. When I say drop, I mean I had to, provide urine
Mm-hmm.
um, in a cup so they can test it, make sure I wasn't using drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so I'm back getting high. I'm back selling drugs. I'm on the run. And of course, I was rearrested. and they gave me alternatives too because I knew how to manipulate the system and play the game too. Like I got a drug problem, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
So not only was I addicted to selling it and the money, but I was addicted to using it too.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and in the beginning, I never wanted to admit that because it felt like if I admit that I had a drug problem, then I'm a weak man. But that moment happened for me. I was addicted to drugs because my life became unmanageable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't the end of my story. And so um, I ended up going to like rehabs and stuff. I did inpatient, outpatient, I did all of that. But I wasn't up trying to, I was figuring out how to beat dirty UAs and stuff like that. So I was getting urine from whoever had to clean the urine. I was going up in there. And so it finally caught up with me. They arrested me and sent me back to prison for 2.5 years. And the 2.5 years, I was angry because I felt like the system was unfair. Uh, Life was unfair. I got these cars. I'm a good spades player, but I mean, I got these cars, but ain't no spades in it. Of life. Like I can't play with this, not knowing that regardless of what hand you got to play that hand regardless. But
That part.
and so, plus I made 17 cents an hour working in prison in the kitchen. So I'm like, I'm going back home. I'm chasing the American dream, and we know what the American dream consists of: money. Right? That's a big part of it. I mean, somebody can probably say, well, it's more than that. Well, I believe that's the top of the totem pole.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody
Yeah.
wants to win.
Yeah.
So I went home and I immediately got right back busy selling drugs, back, doing the same stuff. It was like a revolving door. It was like a vicious cycle that I couldn't break. Now, remember, I told you I was intrigued with music. So I wrote music a lot. My brother was in a rap group. They were definitely on their way to the top. And I kept writing. I remember recording my first tape at 16 with Walkside Records uh, out of Waukegan, Illinois. It was called Total Package Productions. I remember that clearly. And when I came home on the third time, my younger brother was like, "Hey, we gonna start a rap group." So it was me, my brother, and my younger brother,
Mm-hmm.
and we were called Brother to Brother.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was actually hot at the time. I'm not just saying that because it's me, but you know, brother to brother made a name for themselves back then. We was
Okay.
we was getting busy.
Okay.
We had what it took to get there, but I don't think we had the right moving pieces around us to actually
Mm-hmm.
elevate to a level of stardom, right? And not only that, um, I believe God put that paused that in my life anyway for a reason, and I'll speak about that when I close. And so that was going good for a while, but I still was breaking the law. I'm still got my feet in the streets, and I end up going back to prison for 3 years. Um,
That's the third time now?
yeah, I've been to prison 3 times.
Okay.
So I'm sitting in prison this time, and it was 1999, December 31st to be exact. Y2K was supposed to hit at 12 o'clock. I was nervous, but what made me nervous was I'm looking at all these tough guys now. They're nervous too. Like, well, hold on, I thought we were supposed to be these tough guys, but
Mm-hmm.
and they on people getting on the phone, writing letters, like like it's really going to be the end of the world. I remember when my grandmama, she told me, I went back in my cell and I talked to God. I said, I ain't no good.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm out here doing wrong. You probably don't even hear me. I said, but I'm gonna get this out. And I told God, I said, if you allow me to live through this prison term that I got, this time that I got, I promise you that whatever it is that you want me to do, I'm gonna do it. I don't even know what that was, but I threw my hands up and I surrendered. Now remember, I didn't wait to go to prison to find God because people always connect a person going to prison or you found God in prison. No, God created.
Mm-hmm.
God always knew where I was at. He was
Mm-hmm.
waiting on me.
Walking
And
with
so,
you. Yep.
yes, because I've been shot at, ran over. I mean, it's been times where I wanted to take my own life. I remember
Mm-hmm.
I've been in, I've just been into a lot in the streets. And so to be in that prison at the time, unscathed by a lot of things, lost a lot of guys around me, whether
Mm-hmm.
it was to the streets or to the cemetery, or to addiction and stuff like that. It's like for me to still be in that moment talking to God, I had something,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to know what my purpose was.
There you
That's
go.
what I asked God. Like, why am I allowed to live after all of these things that I've been going through? I want to know what my purpose is.
There you go.
Know the why that I want to get up every day.
There you go.
So of course, 2000 hit, everything was good. I ended up walking out of prison in '03. Now, before I walked out of prison, it was '02. I went up for the parole board, where you can uh, talk to a board about coming home early, or
Mm-hmm.
they may make a recommendation. So I went to the parole board, but when I went to the board, I already had my mind up. I'm not trying to hear nothing the board is saying. Whatever they got to offer, I'm gonna decline it. And I did just that. They wanted to let me out early than uh, from when my sentence was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to end. I said, nah, I'm good. It was like, are you sure? Are you under the influence? No,
Mm.
not today. Is someone forcing? No, no one is forcing me, nothing. I said, here's where I'm at with y'all and within myself. I'm tired of seeing y'all. Respectfully. I said, the second thing is, when I walk out of here, I'm definitely not returning.
There you
And they
go.
looked at me like, yeah, okay. And I sacrificed sitting in prison, finishing out my sentence. I could have went home probably in 30 days from that point, because you normally a year left or deferred probably 30 days to 90 days, and you going home. But
Mm-hmm.
I knew they was giving me that rope again to
To
hang
get you
myself.
back in
I wasn't
to
taking the bait this time,
do that cycle.
because
Yeah.
the normal, I tell guys now and people when I'm telling my testimony, when I'm talking about prison life, I said the main thing I wanted to do was get out of prison was to go see my kids for a couple minutes, go shopping, get some fresh gym shoes, go get a good meal. Uh, if you're married or you got a girlfriend, you want to go see her. And once you do all of those, okay, now you back. Well, I'll speak for me because I'm the only one that's ever back to the same old stuff.
Yeah.
But you in prison. When I was in prison, oh, I miss my family. Oh, I ain't gonna never do. Nah, I was listening to this podcast, and these guys were saying life in prison was easy. Life in society is the hardest.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And
It's all the
so,
temptation and all of that. Yeah.
mhm. So I walked out of prison in '03, discharged, no papers, no nothing, and I didn't have a plan. But 1999, when I was talking to God, I created OMAC in prison. I wrote it down. It was a quick vision. I wrote it down, and I'm like, well, maybe I can help people one day. And I wrote a little bit, and I wrote all the negatives about me, but then I wrote all the positives. The main thing I had at the top of the list was I was still alive. So I said, okay, without that, I ain't got nothing. So I had something. But walking out of prison, it still took some time for me to get myself together. I was still on that roller coaster ride. Like I wanted, then being a convicted felon at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Can I'm not looking to get the best job. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? When people know you got to check that box. Have you ever been convicted of a felon? And you looking at that, you staring at that box for about 10 minutes before you move on to the next question. It's like if you try to figure out how to spin it, you're not going to be able to spin it. You can say no, but then once that paperwork comes through, you
Once they
just
run
pat
that
you on the
check.
shoulder and hey, how you doing, sir? Can you come to the office for a minute? Well, here it says you. Back then, it was brutal with that.
Mm.
So I didn't have no hope. I didn't have like the motivation, the
Mm-hmm.
inspiration. Like, man, I just felt like life ain't gonna be. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
3 years, but what I did have was will. I had the will, and I
There
still
you
had
go.
God.
There you go.
But the problem was, I came home driving. If I started driving at 11,
Mm-hmm.
just because somebody told me how to drive, don't mean I know how to drive. I
Mm-hmm.
came out the door driving again. When I told God I was gonna let Him drive,
There you go.
He opened that door for me.
Yeah.
So I had to let go of the wheel and get on the passenger seat. And it was, and what my blessing was during the time was I was on my way back to jail. And I know you're like, dang, because when I'm doing this in classes, people are like, dang, man, don't tell me. And they gripping their teeth like, did he go back? Like, and so, I, you remember those children I was having, those kids?
Yeah.
Child support popped up on me.
Oh, whoa.
Now, there's a lot of men out there in the
Oh.
neighborhood, in the trenches, and out there that, having kids costs a lot of money. A lot of people may not even, it is what it is, but guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I was on child support.
And that 17 cents a day you said you was making in
Oh, that
prison?
was, man, that was amount nothing, nothing. That didn't add up to nothing. So when I get this letter, summons support, they say you owe us almost $40,000.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's what I said. And I was like, okay. I was scared to go to court, but I went anyway. When I went to court, I'm in the courthouse. I got my oldest daughter and my best friend with me from Detroit. Uh, this dude was like my brother. I mean, he stood with me when I was at my lowest. You know what I'm saying? He actually talked me into turning myself in the last time I went to prison because he said, "Man, there's something in you that's gonna be great, but you gotta
Mm-hmm.
stop running." And
Yeah.
this was coming from a real street dude out of
Okay.
Detroit. You
You
know what I'm saying?
something better for you. Something better for
And
you out there. Yeah,
he
that's
drove
great.
me to the parole office
That's awesome.
and
Yeah.
watched me walk in. I was like, if he only knew.
That's a
I
friend.
told him already, but I hope he really knows wherever he is. That was amazing.
That's a brother right there. That's a true brother.
And we talking a guy that is hardcore, like you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. But he had love for me, and
Mm-hmm.
he loved me that much to say, bro,
This ain't for you.
if you keep running, your greatness is not going to happen because
Mm-hmm.
you always bounce back, man. Because I was always bouncing back. You count me out, oh, here I am. What's up?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't
Yeah.
nobody but God.
That's
And
right.
so I'm sitting there, he's with me. We're going around the courthouse, and he's going to pay for a lawyer to go in and get me up out of this, right?
Mm.
At least prologue it so I won't go to
Mm-hmm.
jail.
Mm-hmm.
Every lawyer we encountered, they was busy. The calendar was booked up. They wasn't in their office. And I came to the conclusion, I got to pray.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way. I walked to the courthouse, to the court door, and kneeled on the bench. And I talked to God again. And my daughter was looking at me. He was standing to my right. And I said, y'all, excuse me. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
listen, God, you have to be my mouthpiece, my lawyer, my representative, because I'm about to walk in here. I don't even know what's about to happen. But
No
looking
clue.
at the numbers that I owe,
I can't do
it ain't
this.
gonna be good. And
Mm-hmm.
so I walk in there. But before I walk in, I look at my daughter, my oldest, and I say, baby girl, I promise if I make it out of here, I'm gonna change. And she gave me this look like, yeah, okay, Dad. Like
Mm.
you said this already a million times.
I've
And
heard
my
this
kids love
before.
me to death. Don't get me wrong, my babies love their daddy. Believe that. But she was like,
I've heard it
all
before.
right. I walked in there, I'm sitting, the courtroom was crowded. I know everybody in there almost. I'm sitting around just chilling. They called my name. There were people going to jail, there was people going home. Gibson, Earl Gibson. It was like thunderstorm, dark clouds. It was like what it felt like. I walk up to that seat, I sit down. You got the DA on the left, You got picture Judge Judy in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the DA eating me up. He ain't nothing. He's a deadbeat father. I was a marked gang member. Been in and out of rehab. He ain't. This dude is just scum of the scum. He owes all this money. Now remember, I didn't have a lawyer, and I wanted to open my mouth and say, you you don't know me. I wanted to go back and forth with it,
Mm-hmm.
but the amazing was happening. God kept my mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
The gag order, like, be quiet. Don't you say
Mm-hmm.
nothing.
There you
Don't
go.
even look her way.
There you go.
Look at the judge. Don't even react to you.
Mm-hmm.
So the judge looked. He was like, wow, pretty interesting. She said, Mr. Gibson, you don't look like you're missing a meal. Are your kids okay? A few shots at me. And so I, she asked me this question. She said, do you have any type of money towards this outstanding debt? Now, I went in my wallet and pulled out a rusty old money order. You slide up in the little pocket of your just in case type. It was a $30 money order. I said, I got $30. The whole courtroom laughed. The bailiff, the prosecutor, the audience, and it did something to me.
Mm.
It hurt my feelings. And I'm sitting there like, I can laugh about it now, but it hurt my feelings. It did
At
something
that
to me.
time.
You
Yeah.
know what I realized? I was broke.
Mm.
Now you ain't always got to have money. You dig what I'm saying? But you need some type of stability financially. I
Yeah.
didn't have none of that. Remember, I'm 3 years out of prison. Still ain't got, still ain't standing on business.
Wow.
The judge says, really? He said, you know what? Lock him up. That sheriff came off that wall, stood me up, put the cuff on me. I took one step going toward that way. The judge said, wait a minute, take the cuffs off.
But God.
Sit down, Mr. Gibson. And she looked at him. She said, I don't know why I'm doing this.
But God.
Remember, before I walked in that door, he said, but something's telling me to give you a chance.
But God.
He said, Mr. Gibson, here's what I'm going to do. I want you to walk out of here. You go find a job.
Mm-hmm.
You go make your first payment. And I'm going to give you 30 days to do that and come back in here and prove to me that you can do that.
There you go.
And I was like, okay. I walked out of there. But of course, I went to celebrate that I was free and went straight to the bar, drinking, doing pool, and called my boy that was with me, my guy, come meet me over here. I said, listen, I got 29 days from the day. I need some drugs. I need to get back to the streets. I ain't going to no jail. And he gave it to me, right? You know what I realized by Saturday? I wasn't a drug dealer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
God took all that away from me.
Mm-hmm.
I've been selling drugs forever. And I'm telling you, I didn't know how to sell a drug from that point on.
Mm.
And that Sunday, I was frustrated looking up at the ceiling. And my brother calls me, my older brother. I ain't trying to hear nobody right now. I got 28 days from that day to
Look,
get
I
some
am blue
money.
2 days
Like,
ago.
I'm not, if it ain't about no money, I don't want to talk to nobody. And he was like, get this number. Somebody, somebody thought I was you and gave me this number. And I'm like, okay, give me the number. I laid back down because I was laying there after a while. That number was calling me. It wasn't calling me on the phone. It was sitting on the
Yeah.
dresser like, come here, call
Yeah.
me this number. I'm like, they call this number. Hello?
Yeah.
When they answered that phone, the people on, I said, this is GEO. They started crying. And they was like, it's GEO on the phone. That's all I heard. It was some faith-based people that I met. I did this show, me, my brothers, brother to brother. and all the neighborhood kids. We love the kids, man. No matter what we was doing, we still love the kids no matter what.
Mm.
We tried to look out for them. We weren't being the best role models, because they saw the gang life, they saw the drugs, they saw the stuff that we
Mhm.
weren't supposed to be doing, but we still love them kids, you know. And so we used to take them kids and perform shows. We used to turn out Juneteenth and all that type of stuff.
Mhm.
And I had met some people during that time uh, that that had a liking for Geo because God was involved, right?
Mhm.
And so it was like, well, what's going on with you? On my way back to jail, like for what? Child support. They were like, the devil is a liar.
There you go.
Came back, came to visit me. I had a job interview that Monday. It could have been that Monday or that Tuesday, one of the two. And I was like, I remember going to a secondhand store, buying me a light blue, sky blue shirt with some slacks and some black shoes. It got my hair twisted all the way to the back. And I'm pulling up at this job opportunity, and it's at a school.
Uh-oh.
School. I
Uh-oh.
said, ain't no way I'm gonna go up in there and get a job. You see what my faith was? It
Mm.
wasn't there.
Mhm.
It wasn't there. I walked up in there, nervous. I sat down in front of this young lady. Her name was Arletta. She was interviewing me. Arletta, I'm gonna tell Arletta, I'm a former gang member, a former drug dealer. I mean, drugs, I mean, prison. I mean, she was like, she cut me off. She was like, She said, I already know who you used to be.
Used to be.
That blew my mind.
There you
I said,
go.
what? Now, I
Yeah.
didn't say that to her, but I'm saying it on the inside. My life started flashing before me as I was praying in that cell, praying at that court, just things that I was going through.
Yes.
Used to be, because I never knew and thought that I can be anything other than what I was from the beginning of my life to where I was going, right?
Yeah.
And a letter says, my question to you is, if I give you a chance, what are you going to do with it? And I said, I'll show you better than I can tell you. He hired me right there on the spot as a lunch monitor. I'm in the lunchroom monitoring kids, sweeping chicken nuggets off the floor, mac and cheese, and Jimmy stopped blowing them bubbles and then, hey, remember, I was a kid. I used to love school in the cafeteria. That was my favorite spot in the playground, in the gym class. Those was my top three right there. So I knew how
Mhm.
to work with kids regardless.
Mhm.
And it was in that school in Racine, Wisconsin. It was called 21st Preparatory School. I'll put it on record. It was in that school in Racine, Wisconsin, is where God showed me my purpose. Remember, I
Mhm.
prayed for it in that cell
Yeah.
in '99, and I asked God to show me my purpose. He
Yeah.
showed it to me, and how I know He showed it to me, and I felt it. It's because I'm still doing exactly what I've been doing from the day I got hired in that school. And we talking 2007, I'm 2006, 2007, somewhere up in there. It was so impactful in that school. Those kids gravitated to me like I
Mm.
was Michael Jordan or somebody.
Mhm.
Like I ended up cutting all my hair off. I wanted a whole different change.
Mhm.
Uh, my music became. I used to do the gangster music. I stopped doing gangster music. I started doing music that our kids can listen to. And then Geo, I wanted to drop the name because it had a negative attachment to it.
Well, this is
And
the
I'm
time
like,
I ask you, what does GEO stand for?
you can, yeah,
What does
or
GEO
you can
stand
wait.
for? Now I'm not gonna wait
It's,
now because we're right here now. So
yeah, it stands for giving every opportunity.
that's what it stands for. That's what it's
Yeah.
always stood for.
No,
Okay, continue on, and I'll ask in it.
but I changed. I kept the name, but I wanted to get rid of it. But I kept it and turned it into a positive acronym. So I kept it. And so it was so impactful. All the parents were coming to the school to meet me. They wanted to know, who is this Mr. Gibson impacting my kids the way he is. My kids is at the dinner table talking about Mr. Gibson. Who is this guy? I started training because I was always into fitness. No matter what I was doing in the world, I was
Mm-hmm.
always into fitness. And anybody in my world would contest to that. Like, yeah, Geo was always having us
Mm-hmm.
doing push-ups, benching, running, um, and I was training all the teachers, and parents would want to come get involved too. So I ended up becoming the gym teacher of the school.
Look
Now I
at
don't
you
have a
now.
degree.
Look at
Yeah,
you now.
yeah.
Okay.
Now I don't have a degree in any of that. But they just asked me simply, like, could you do athletics? Could you? Like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because I was always an athlete type of guy. All the kids in my neighborhood, when we grow up, the best of the best come from the trenches. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Mm-hmm.
that was amazing. Now that got the attention of other agencies in the city at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was I ended up becoming a community activist at the time. Uh, this was happening in Racine, Wisconsin. There was a lot of homicides there. So, look,
Okay.
Racine had very heavy on gang violence at the
Okay.
time, um, and so I wanted to just help intervene on some of those things that I probably played a part of planting in our communities everywhere that I went. I'm not
Okay.
saying I'm fully responsible, but I
Mm-hmm.
also played a part in that, so I understood it. So I
Okay.
wanted to get involved with it to try to see if I could steer or help, somebody pivot from those things,
Mm-hmm.
especially the kids. And so, and this is all documented on YouTube, the marches and stuff that I did, all that's on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. That was an amazing moment at the time because now God is using me to advocate um, to the same things that I used to do against that.
Leadership.
Um,
Yeah.
I ended up taking a job later on at the YMCA Young Leaders Academy as a violence prevention intervention specialist, going into our schools doing gang prevention and stuff like that with some other men out of Racine, Wisconsin at the time. And then I ended up becoming a case manager for Safe Passage, and I worked with the Safe Haven organization for a while, where I met a lot of great young men there during the time that inspired me to want to continue to stay in the work as well. Um, and also before all of that, I ended up going through like a rehab program I told you about. Well, the guy that was running that program, he's my mentor. He was my mentor at the time. Like he's been through a lot. His name is Tony Moore, and I learned a lot from Tony. So to be doing what I'm doing now after following behind Tony and a lot of other guys I work with at Safe Haven, Safe Passage, at the schools, the YMCA, then meeting my pastor at the time who was once on the street. I mean, it just all was coming full circle. Now, that all was cool, but there was something missing in my life. It was like I made these changes. I just felt like society has put me in a box, like put a ceiling over me.
Mm-hmm.
I started realizing who I am, who I was, and I felt like I was bigger than what uh, people were allowing me to do. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like you can only go so far. You still
Okay.
can make it better. So
Okay. Okay.
remember, I told you I went to Kentucky in the early '90s.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I stayed in contact with some people, and through Facebook, I communicated with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, you should come down here and do what you're doing there. I was like,
Oh, okay. Okay.
They
Okay.
asked me 2 times, and it was like, well, the third time we expect you to come on. The third time I ended up going. I got on the highway. I left a car and I left a job. Then I stepped out on faith and headed to Lexington, Kentucky, July 4th, 2010. I
Mm.
know that clearly because the fireworks was going on.
Going
At
off.
first, I didn't pay attention to it because it was just a normal 4th of July.
Mm-hmm.
But now looking back, it was a celebration
There
of
you
me
go.
making another good decision that I needed
Yeah.
to make to
New
leave
season.
from
Yeah.
my own comfort zone and embarking on a whole new life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm here. Of course, I wasn't able to jump right into violence prevention, intervention, and doing the work that I was doing. Right? It took some time. So the day I got here, it was a Sunday that I got here. Monday comes, I get a call from the principal that I work for at that school, 21st Preparatory School. His name was Dr. Bob Moreland. He was a Christian man. We prayed every day before we started work, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me. He said, "Hey, I got a promotion." He said, "I'm no longer in Wisconsin. I'm in Illinois, in the same region where you grew up at. I'm the superintendent." He said, "I got a job position for you." I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Now remember, I just left a job in a car
Yeah.
and came to Kentucky. So I said, "Bob," and it was Dr. Bob Moreland. I said, "Bob, let me call you back Friday." This was Monday. I said, "Let me call you back by Friday. I got to pray about this." He said, "Okay." I called Bob Friday and I said, "I got the word in my spirit to be still because that's how I got the name GEO, always on the go." And I
Mm.
said, "It's time for me to plant my roots.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to see why God brought me all this way. That this just can't be for nothing. Me
Mm-hmm.
coming all the way here. The rest of it will be in my book." A lot of people say, "Well, there's a whole lot of missing pieces in there still,"
Mm-hmm.
but that's where the book come in at.
There you go.
There's a lot of stuff that we won't even be able to get to. And so I took a job at a gas station just to keep myself doing something.
Mm-hmm.
It was a challenge for me being here because, like I said, being away from home, stepping out on faith, starting over, reset the button, all that. And I took a job at a gas station working third shift. The gas station guy, the manager, he really enjoyed having me around. We started at one small store. He got promoted and moved to the bigger store and said, "Hey, I want to take you with me. I'll give you Friday and Saturday off if you come this way, and I'll give you a 50-cent raise." I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Cool, why not?" So I went with him, and I ran that whole store third shift, and I ran it like it was mine. And I said, "I'm just have to embrace this right now." And I was meeting a lot of people because a lot of people come in gas stations. I was meeting
Absolutely.
everybody:
Yeah.
law enforcement officers, teachers, probation, pastors, teachers. I mean, you name it. I was meeting so many. It
Yeah.
was to a point to where people was coming up to the gas station just to talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, "Hey, man, I need some advice, man. What do you think about?"
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that was preparation. So everything that I was going through, the pain, everything I was going through was preparation. Even
Mm-hmm.
taking that gas station job,
Faithful over
God
the
wasn't
small
ready for me
things.
to
Yeah.
go to the next level yet. It was preparation for the next thing. And so one night, this police officer walks in. Yeah, police officers play a
Always
vital
in there.
role, whether I was being cuffed, chased, or
It's
just talking
always
to
in
me,
there.
right? And so, and I'm looking like, as I'm wiping the counter, like, police officer.
Mm-hmm.
But my spirit was like, "That's who you're gonna talk to about what you're looking for."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "No, it's not." Spirit was like, "Yes, it is."
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is, I needed to say to myself, don't focus on the uniform, talk to the man.
There you go. There you
And
go.
I said, "Excuse me, sir." Now, I didn't grow up yes, sir, and yes, ma'am. I didn't start yes, sir, and yes, ma'am until I moved to Kentucky.
Mm.
So I'm a yes, sir, yes, ma'am too. But I was like, "Sir, I'm looking to work with kids, help kids, people, do some public speaking, violence prevention, intervention, gang prevention." And he was like in a super rush, like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
something froze him. He
Yeah.
was like, "Do you got a story or something?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "As a matter of fact, I do." He stopped. He put that stuff down. He said, of course, he pulled out
Mm-hmm.
he said,
Yeah.
"What's your story?" His name is Todd Phillips. And talking with him, I'm telling him my story. Nobody's coming into the store. It's like that time was just for him and I to talk,
Yeah.
right? Normally that store is busy. And I told him everything that I was telling you, the good, the
Yeah.
bad, the ugly. I was telling him all these things. He was like, and he looked at that. He said, "Man, if this is out, this is amazing." He said, "I'm gonna get back with you."
Mm-hmm.
Now I didn't believe him. The first thing in my mind was, "You got all my information. I'm gonna fit the description one day."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That
Mm-hmm.
you see how our thinking is.
Yeah, yeah, you
You
get
know what I'm
penalized
saying?
for that.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just being real. I'm just being 100% real. And then I don't know. I just had to keep working on myself. That was letting me know that God is not done with me yet. Because look at that thought pop up in my head. He ain't
Yeah.
gonna call me back.
Yeah.
Something happened. He gonna have. If I fit any description of something happened here, he
He
know who to
coming
come
for
see.
me. Yeah.
A week later, my phone rings. It's him. He said, "Can you meet at the police department?" He gave me a certain day and time. And then my first thing in my mind was, now they trying to set me up. Because I was there in the 90s. I went to jail, but I was under a false name.
Mm.
Back then, they were slow because they fingerprinted me. I spent about 30 days in jail. I don't know, somewhere around there. And I walked out of there undetected and went back and got my money that they took from me. And they fingerprinted me and gave me my money. So I said, "Oh, it's time for me to answer. It's time for me to answer for that. They
Mm-hmm.
trying to get me there to get me." And say, "Yeah, you remember this? You see how the enemy will come into your head
Mm-hmm.
and have you thinking one." I had to bring those thoughts into captivity so fast, and I told
Yeah.
myself, "Gio, you ain't running from nothing. You've arrived. Like,
There you
why
go.
are you worried? Worry comes from the enemy."
There
And
you go.
so I went, got dressed, went to the police department, and I meet this older retired captain uh, by the name of Captain Howard. And him and I are sitting across from each other. He's sizing me up, the police thing. He
Mm-hmm.
reading me, you know, and I'm sitting like, what's up?
Mm-hmm.
Nervous. He said, so what's your plan? I said, I don't have a foolproof plan. I said, all I know is there's a lot in me to help kids and people. And he told me, he said, man, I did my homework on you. He said, I even talked to Dr. Bob Moreland personally. He loves you. That man respects you. He said, everything you said you've been through, we called your parole officer, my former parole officer. He said, I called the gang unit, all of that. So, because, sometimes people can get on platforms, they can move to different cities and yeah, I used to do this, I used to do that.
Oh,
For whatever reason,
exaggerate. Yeah.
they want to say they lived the life they never lived. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be that guy. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like, again, I'm not proud of the stuff I went through, but this is my testimony. This is what I
Yeah.
have. And so he was like, I'm actually about to retire, but for some reason, God is asking me and telling me to stick around because of you.
Mm.
And I'm like, that blew my mind right there. I ain't never
Mm-hmm.
heard that from a police officer before.
Mm-hmm.
So from that day on, me and this man was joined to the hip every single day. I would go to the gas station, work my shift. I would go to the gym, work out, go home, eat protein, take a shower, get dressed, and meet him, and we're together all day till about 3, 4 o'clock. Then I would go home, get a couple hours of sleep, back to the gas station for third shift. I was doing that for a whole year with him. He introduced me to almost everybody that I needed to know here.
Mm.
Networking was crazy. I mean, this man is highly respected here. And so and I found myself in the passenger seat of his truck as we were making long distance drives to visit young kids and group homes and stuff like that. That puts us in the car together, building a relationship where he's talking to me like a father and a son, stuff
Mm.
that I never got growing up as
Mm.
a kid. I'm like, wow, man, this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, you know what? I want you to meet my boss. Because he was in charge of all the gang files and all the gang connections here. He was in charge of keeping track of all of that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And we was going to. He had a guys going into the school doing the same stuff that I was doing back home. Working with the youth,
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
intervention, stuff like that. Uh, and I was just tagging along with them. I wasn't, leading that, but I was in the presence of this, helping out as much as I
Okay.
could,
Okay.
volunteering. Yeah, so he introduces me to his boss. I said, well, who is your boss? He said, Larry Roberts. I said, who is that? He's our county attorney. I said, county attorney, county. I said, that's a prosecutor.
Mm.
He said, yeah, I'm going to introduce
Like
you.
a DA, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, now he's the head of the office
Okay.
guy,
Okay.
the number one. And I said, okay. But in my mind, I'm like, God, you pushing it. We end up going to his office. We sitting in front of Mr. Roberts, stone cold. I mean, you can just feel his hardness, right? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he got documents in front of him, which I would say was a record. Captain, Captain says we should hire GEO. He's good at what he does. He's genuine. He's real. He's transparent. Like we gotta hire him. Like and Larry's looking at Captain like, then he looking at this paper. He looks up at me. He was like, no.
Oh.
Me and the captain walked up out of there. Captain put his hand on my shoulder like, hey man, it's all good. I'm like, he said, we just gonna keep doing what we doing. I said, sure. We kept doing what we doing. Now I ended up getting a call from this school, uh, from Dixie Elementary. It was a school called Dixie, and this lady named Cherie Presley called and said, "Hey, I got 5 boys over here. I heard your name that you work with kids. Can you come over here and see if you can work your magic with them? It's like we're having a hard time with them." So me
Mm-hmm.
and the captain, we go over there. We work with these kids, and by the end of the school year, these kids are different kids now. Now I'm not saying we changed their lives around, but whatever impact that the captain and I made, it really pleased the young lady that called me over there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't know she was nominating me for an award called the Golden Apple Award.
There you
The
go.
Golden
Look at
the,
God.
the Golden Apple Award is one of the highest awards you can win in school,
Mm-hmm.
public school setting. I said I don't do this for awards. So it's like award. I don't care about that at the time. I'm like, but not knowing God was setting this up with
Look
that
at
Golden Apple
God.
Award.
Look at
And
God.
when I went to the ceremony, everybody was there. The chief of police, the mayor, the sheriff. I mean, you name it. Every official, council people. And I'm coming to the stage and I'm getting this, taking it with the late superintendent Manny Call, and I'm holding this award. And I'm like, and Larry was in the audience. He's a photographer too. He loves taking pictures. And all of a sudden, Larry calls us back down to the office, and he says, "Okay, let's talk about this." We talking, and the captain was like, "Listen, I'm gonna be responsible for him."
Mm-hmm.
So he was putting his reputation on the line for me.
Mm.
And Larry was like, "Okay, it's on you." He said, "I'm gonna hire you part time, and I'm gonna give you 99 hours a month." That's what he told me.
Mm.
OMAC started with 5 kids. Within months, it became almost 500 kids. It was crazy. It was like mind blowing. I was in all the schools. I started working with more elementary kids than I did high school kids, but it just started blowing up. It started moving to different counties. People were, just pulling me everywhere. And I was doing a lot of speaking engagements, universities and stuff like that. I was also doing in service for the police department. So I would go in and I would talk to them about, how to build relationships with the community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody that you see with a certain color is not a gang member.
There you go.
Everybody that you see in the neighborhoods that don't look like you doesn't mean they're criminal.
That part.
You got to
That
know how to
part.
build relationships with people. You got to get out and make your presence known.
That
You know,
part.
you may not get everybody to like you, but at least over time, that respect and that trust will come. Just
Mm-hmm.
because you got a car with a police badge on it, don't mean people gonna trust you. We
Yeah.
see what's happening in the world. So I'm standing. I do these in services all the time. I'm like these are 2 hour sessions that these young rookies got to go through. One of my classes. And that's mind blowing to me. I get to tell them my story, and it inspires these young people in hopes of that they do go into our communities and police it the right way.
There you go.
Uh, and so Larry hires me. He's so pleased with the work. He calls me back down to the office. Now Larry is a jokester, right? Like he's the type of dude who will hide up under your desk when you sit down. He jumps out. Ah! I mean, he's hilarious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he knows me. I know him. Now they're fighting over me. It's Geo's
Oh
my
my gosh.
son. No, it's not. And so, Larry says, "Hey, we in this empty room, right?" He said, "You like this room?" I said, "Larry, it reminds me of an interrogation room. It's just got a desk with chairs in it." He
Mhm.
said, "Well, you think you can do something with it?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "I want this to be your office."
Look at
And
God.
he goes into his suit jacket and pulls out a check and says, "If you take my offer today, I'll give you an advance right now."
Won't
I said,
God do
"Yeah."
it? Won't God
I
do
took
it?
the job. So now I'm an employee full time at the county's attorney's office. I had to dress up every day. Of course, county attorney's office, you got to, dress,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you just can't have on jogging suits going up in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with Larry for quite some time. And then this other building, this other government, in the government building here,
Mm-hmm.
you got the mayor's office, you got the commissioners upstairs and stuff like that, social service, all
Mm-hmm.
that type of stuff. Right across the street was our office, the county attorney on the fifth and sixth floor. So the
Mm-hmm.
captain comes to me one day, he says, "Hey, there's a job opening across the street." He said, "You should go apply for it." I said, "Man, you pushing it, man. I don't have, I'm in my mind, I'm thinking I need a master's degree, a bachelor's, whatever else comes with a college degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm thinking in my mind, right? All this time.
You
He
just
said,
need
"Who
God.
said you need all of that?"
You
I
just
said,
need God.
"Man," he said, "Gio, God, look how far God brought you. What makes you think you can't walk up in there and get that?" I would have filled out the application. I got a call, the interview. I make it to the interview. They said they want to interview me again. So I make it to the second interview. When I walked into the second one, people was looking like, "Is he interviewing?" They started walking out. Like, we ain't
We
got
ain't
no
got a
chance.
shot. We ain't got no shot. Geo here.
You know,
Geo here.
I didn't intend it to be that way, but I came highly favored.
God's
And I
child.
believe that, of course, the people that I networked around with, but I think I came highly recommended from God.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because of my obedience.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? My willingness to line up with whatever plan he had for me. My footsteps were ordered to those doors, to those meetings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Followed that. I didn't, even when the boat got rocky, when people started coming at me, trying to attack my character, trying to assassinate my character, trying to run me from this place. You know what I'm saying? Trying to destroy me. I'm like, but
Mm-hmm.
I stood and let God fight that battle and win the war for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got the job. So I'm working with, I had both jobs. I was a substance abuse and violence intervention specialist for the commissioner's office in the government building. So I would walk from that office across the street, and when I was done, oh, I gotta go to the office. I go out and go get on the elevator, go to. It blew my mind. I mean,
Mm.
and I was very humble with this. So it's not like I was running around flexing. Today, right now, as we talking, it's still mind blowing to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day. And so it was supposed to be a full time job eventually, because
Mm-hmm.
Larry told me, he said, "I may not keep you forever because the money that he was paying me was through a grant." But he always wanted better for me. Him and the captain was like, 'cause they were ready to retire. Well, captain was, but he was always telling me like, if something good comes along, take it. I want to make sure you straight.
Mm-hmm.
And so that didn't pan out the full time, and I was disappointed by that. But Larry told me, he said, "Don't worry about that. You got a home with me still." And I said, "Okay, I like that. Thank you for that reassurance." I was doing a conference one day, and I had missed a phone call from the former chief here. His name was Mark Martin. Now, chief had, I called him back, and he talked to me for a couple of minutes. He said, "Gio, here at the department, we have a community service department.
Mm-hmm.
One of our officers is retiring, but we were looking to hire a civilian." And I'm still listening. And he said, "We thought about you and was wondering if you would be willing to come aboard the community service." Now, The enemy is all in my head. And I ain't no way I'm working for no police department. My people ain't gonna love me no more. I'm gonna get all this and that. And you see what I'm saying?
Mm,
I
mm,
had to I had to let the devil know again, you a liar. Stop talking to me.
mm-hmm.
I, get out
Mm-hmm.
of my head,
Get out of
right?
my head.
And I said, Chief, I got OMAC though. He said, bring OMAC with you. This is what he said. I said, you know what? I love it. I said, I like it. Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I transitioned from the county attorney's office to the police department.
Look at
Well,
God.
who I've been with for 10 years now. I just
Look
got
at
my
that.
just got my certificate and plaque for my 10 years of service so
Look
far.
at
Long as
God.
I ever had a job, probably the only one in my family that's held the same job as far as my immediate family, 10 straight years so
Look
far
at
in county.
God.
When I get there, I'm sitting in front of who is now my chief, right? He was in the meeting, Chief Weathers. He wasn't chief at the time, but he's my chief now. He's the chief now. And I remember him telling me you can pick up your car tomorrow. I'm like, car?
I got a car.
He said, yeah, you get a take home car. I'm like, this is this this is crazy, crazy. I go pick up this car, right? What color was that police officer's car that told me if
No
I wasn't going
way.
to it was
No way.
the same blue car, but a different model. It was a Crown Vic though.
God got jokes. God got jokes.
And I was
Okay.
like, they call that car the Smirk. They call it the Smirk because it's blue. Blue is the sky is blue.
Mm-hmm.
Clean as a whistle. I mean, I'm like, this is unreal. I'm driving this car and I'm driving. People are slowing down, and I'm like,
Oh my
it's only
goodness.
me. And yeah. And like I said, I mentioned this before. It's not about the material stuff that came with this, the car and stuff like that. But look, like you said, look what God would do. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like He put me in one, and I still drive one to this day. It's different now, but it still came from the department, right?
Yeah.
And so for 10 years, I've been doing that. OMAC is a nonprofit organization, and then God starts sending me team members and
There
stuff
you
like
go.
that to help build this organization to what it is today. Um, I have a really good core group that
Mm-hmm.
has done some tremendous work. I said, hey, y'all got 2 and 3 degrees from these colleges. That ain't going to waste around me. So I feel like I got about 10 degrees. I don't have one, but I feel like I do because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. But guess what? We gonna utilize our strengths together
Mm-hmm.
with all that. Use all of that. So I've been running the program now for. I've been doing this work now for 17 years.
Oh,
Been in
amazing.
Lexington, Kentucky for 15 years. Been with the department for 10 years. Um, Still, dropping music, videos and stuff like that, doing podcasts and stuff like that with the University of Kentucky. Um, I told the captain I wanted to go into correctional facilities and plant OMAC as a reentry program.
Okay.
I'm doing that. I'm still doing that.
Juvenile or adults?
I started with the juvenile.
Okay.
Now I'm with the adults
Okay.
because I know there's more GEO Gibsons out there that people have changed their lives. They want to get involved with the work. They don't know how. I'm hoping that if somebody sees this and they listen to the full story of this, that they too can get involved in this type of work.
Mm-hmm.
Just you got to pick a side though. I didn't. I'm not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. But if that's what you want to do, gotta open that door. You just gotta keep on
Mm-hmm.
going.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, I'm just thrilled of how all this is turning out. Again,
Mm-hmm.
I know my grandmama is proud of me because she used to always tell me. I'm glad she got a chance to see this.
What are the programs that OMAC runs? What all do you do over there?
Okay, so OMAC, we're titled as Violence Prevention and Intervention.
Okay.
I think the best work we do is prevention because we want to prevent kids from even going down that path. So We work with elementary, middle, high school, college, and adults, right?
Okay.
So what that consists of is I connect with these schools. They call me, and I go in there. They identify the kids. So I may have 10 or 15 kids each school. I work with them for the whole entire school year. So
Mm-hmm.
say like Monday, I might go in two schools on Monday. I
Okay.
might do three schools on Tuesday. I might do two schools on Wednesday,
Okay.
Thursday, and so on, right? And also we run after school programs. So I wanted to help kids that were going through the system also. So OMAC became a program for kids that are going through the courts as a incarceration program, like
Okay.
the alternative to
Okay.
incarceration. So we work with these kids in hopes of giving them off probation,
Okay.
um, just regaining their lives back, taking
Mm-hmm.
control of their lives and understanding they can be greater than what they're trying to do
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the streets. So, like I said, I do a lot of public speaking. Um, we feed the kids, of course, when they come to us. We feed the kids. We could be their first and last meal. Remember, I was a kid growing up,
Yeah.
didn't have much. Food was definitely something that I always was in the need of. So we make sure that we feed kids throughout the program, whether it's snacks or that we do meals. Uh, like if they came on a Tuesday and a Thursday, we'll do a snack on Tuesday. We'll do a big meal on Tuesday, then a big meal on Thursday. But we're also doing community stuff. We do like all sports camps. We do like pop ups, stuff like that. We do resource fairs. We do career fairs.
Okay.
Um, yeah, bring in different people to come speak to the kids and stuff like that because
Okay.
I didn't get to where I'm at alone. You know, I made the conscious decision
Mm-hmm.
myself. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, I talked to God about it, and this is where it ended up. But I'm always looking to build relationships with people, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what we're trying to show kids how to build healthy relationships with the community and utilize the resources that are available for them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. My last question, because it sounds like I'm not there, but it sounds like you doing a lot, a lot, a lot. You wearing many hats. When do you find the time to do the music?
Uh, I try to carve the time as much as I can. So I do a lot of writing. I got a lot of songs I haven't recorded yet. Um, but as soon as I get that spurt of the moment where I can spend a couple of days and I'm in there recording some drop in my spirit, I gotta get it done. I just try to make the time as much as I can.
Okay, so we're gonna get a record deal soon.
Uh, I'm not chasing that because I'm not
I'm just
now.
teasing you.
But here's what if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, we want to use one of your songs on our soundtrack,"
Okay.
or because I involve the kids with my stuff. So if you watch
Oh,
any of my
oh, I
videos, you
love
can see
that.
the kids.
Okay.
I got the kids in the videos. I'm trying to see who wants to actually grab the mic and do some music, but you put them in that booth or you put them in forefront, then they cram up. They're not
Mm-hmm.
trying to do it right.
Got to get some practice in. Got to get some
Yeah,
practice in that
I'm
stage
trying to
presence.
lead the way. Yeah, I'm trying to lead the way and help build that confidence up.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have one more question before I ask you my random question.
No problem.
Um, Now, OMAC has been very impactful to a lot of the young people's lives that you have been serving. But my question is, how has it been impactful in your life personally?
It's been impactful in my life because it gave me a different outlook on life. It gave me new life.
Mm-hmm.
It gave me something for my kids and my grandkids to look up to,
Mm-hmm.
especially my grandkids. I never saw any of this coming. I'm glad that I'm available for them when they call me. Um, I'm glad I'm not in prison because I don't even being physically in prison, you can be in society and still be in prison. And I'm glad that I was able to be delivered from those vices that kept me going backwards and backwards and
Mm-hmm.
backwards. So, like I said, it's just this whole thing has revived my entire life. It's like, I was slowly dying and I had accepted that and not knowing that this was God's plan all along.
Mm-hmm.
and I wouldn't trade it in for the world.
Mm-hmm.
And through all the stuff that I've been through, I recently got a pardon from the governor in June of Wisconsin.
Won't he
So I'm
do
not a
it?
convicted felon anymore.
Won't he do it?
He
There
will
you
do it. He will do it.
go.
So sometimes when I'm speaking, I got to remember that I am not a convicted felon. But I wasn't claiming that anyway.
There you go.
It was just on black and white.
There you go. At the end of the
You know
day,
what I'm
all I
saying?
am is God's child. At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
I
that's
wasn't
all.
claiming that anyway, but that's not who I am anymore at
Mm-hmm.
all. So I do have the plaque to prove it and the paperwork to prove it. But so that opens up more doors,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's just a blessing to be able to be in so many people's lives that look up. And you won't reach everybody. Everybody. This little girl asked me. I was in doing a Black History presentation. There was probably like 50 students, and this little girl asked me. She said, What have you learned the most of doing the work that you're doing?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
little girl.
There you go.
I said, "What I learned the most is that everybody don't want what I want. Everybody don't want. Everybody scream it, talk it, yell it,
Yeah.
play with it, but everybody really don't want peace in the world."
Yeah.
And that bothers me sometimes because I'm like, I changed my life for the better, but I thought the grass was greener on this side. It's not. It's not greener on this side. I
Mm-hmm.
can tolerate it because it 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 made me a better man. It made me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
It got me closer to God. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's my strength when I go to these classrooms, when I'm going into the jails, when I'm. It's not about popularity for me. It's not about uh, competition with people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm supposed to boast about what God has done. I'm supposed to shine like the brightest star because of what
Mm-hmm.
God has done. I'm supposed
Mm-hmm.
to deliver that message so you can hear me clearly. You know what I'm saying? There's
Mm-hmm.
no way I'm supposed to walk with my head down. No, God didn't tell me that. God told me,
Mm-hmm.
you continue to be great.
There you go.
People are intimidated by greatness is because they haven't found that greatness in them yet for it to shine through. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
people tend to attack people that are on that path, but the enemy will use anybody.
That part.
You know what
Yes.
I'm saying? And another thing this has taught me that it's elevated me and it's elevated me also, away from family. I moved here. I don't have family here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, when I left back home, my daughter was 5 years old.
Oh.
And I told her, and remember, and she's a daddy's little girl, my youngest. She's a daddy's little girl at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was heartbroken. But I
Mm.
told her, I said, I may be leaving here, but I'm not leaving you.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm gonna prove it to you. And I was back on that road, back and forth, getting my baby. She would come here for birthdays, holidays,
Oh.
spring breaks, weekends.
Mm.
Oh yeah, I still raise my daughter. So
There you go.
it taught me how to balance a lot of things. Um, but again, it just benefited me just watching other people become successful.
There you
It's
go.
what's helping me.
There
And
you
when I
go.
run into young men and women that have got themselves back together, I can be in a grocery store, I can be at a shoe store, I can be at an event, and I'm always getting a tap on the shoulder. Mr. Gio, you remember me? Mr. Gio, you remember me? Or I'm getting messages on my phone like that
Mm-hmm.
people don't see. Only me and God sees that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people ask me, does this work? How do you know it works? You know what I tell them? Yeah, I can hand you some black and white with some grass on it and charts and
Mm-hmm.
all that. I can go in a room and put on the suit and talk that talk.
Yeah.
I said, but you looking at it.
There you go.
Remember, I walked out of prison in '03. I walk in prisons, but when I walk in, they give me an ID of clearance and a key to buzz a door. So I'm living proof. I'm the reality model on this.
Mm-hmm.
I know it works,
There you
and I
go.
have a curriculum. And the curriculum that I have is based on my personal life. It's built on what I needed in my life and what got me through to where I'm at right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this works for a
Mm-hmm.
fact. And we're
Mm.
looking for people to want to model this program anywhere in the world.
So we're gonna be spreading OMAC outside of Kentucky then.
Yes, that's the goal.
Okay.
It's already in Kentucky. I'm thankful for Kentucky because even though it was a vision in prison in Wisconsin, it didn't come to life until I moved to Kentucky when I got my when I got everything lined up, and then it was like, oh, wait a minute, OMAC.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because God had to prepare me for some things.
That's
He
right.
wanted to see was I gonna stay obedient even when it got hot in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't run.
10 toes down.
I stayed 10 toes down no matter what, and I did it. I did everything correctly. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
step on nobody's toes. I didn't make no phone calls backdooring somebody. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
criticize no. I didn't. I did everything correctly that I was supposed to do to get to where I'm at right now, as far as on the business side of what I'm doing.
God's child. Truly favored.
Yeah.
Truly favored.
And so if those that are going to be watching this, if you don't believe in no God, I'm hoping after you hear this and that you see this, that I'm hoping that I've changed your mind just by
Mm-hmm.
telling you what I went through. And I gave you the quick version. Actually, we could probably do this for a whole month right here. I got so many things that
I don't want to take away
yeah,
the book from you, though. We need to get people to buy the
right.
book. So,
I gotta get that book. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, it's a lot of things. I always leave people hanging because they be like, "Well, how did it?" Just get ready for the book.
get ready for the book. See, and that's another thing that's going to be taking up your time. We got the music, we got the podcast, we got the nonprofit work, and now we got a book
Mhm.
to write. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you my random question, and then I'm going to ask you to let us know how we get in touch with you. Because, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't take all your time today. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Please
I,
don't.
enjoy, I
Please don't do
enjoyed
that.
I enjoyed your story though, your
Thank you.
testimony.
Thank you.
I don't know. Let's see here. What product would you stockpile if you found out they weren't going to sell it anymore?
What product would I stockpile if I knew they wasn't gonna sell it no more? Is it what like food or something or?
It could be a product, it could be food, it could be anything, anything.
Well, I'm praying that the food never runs out, but I love fitness. So if I can stockpile stuff that'll keep me healthy and fit, let me
Okay.
get on it.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah,
So you got your protein and all that stuff, right? You doing all
yeah,
that? Okay.
all that.
All
Yeah,
right. All right. So, Mr. Geo, how do
yeah.
we get in touch with you? Give us the website, socials, and all of that stuff.
Okay. Well, you can follow me at or visit our website to learn more about Operation Making a Change. Visit our website at teamomac.com, teamomac.com. We're on Facebook at Operation Making a Change, and I'm on Instagram, OMAC Team. Um, I have an email address also. Well, I just gave you that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Operation Making a Change. I'm hardly ever on there, but I mean, I'm easy to find. I'm a Google, put it that way. You can Google me,
You could Google
Geo
me, right?
Gibson. Yeah, you can Google Geo Gibson, and a lot of stuff is gonna pop up about me. And you can Google Operation Making a Change,
All
and
right, all
pop
right.
up.
So that is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Black Men Matter series on the Male Perspective. This podcast is an initiative of Conversations in Color, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to uplifting Black voices. Make sure to check out our website, conversationsincolor.org, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms. We'll see you on the next episode.